maybe 50 different agencies in a given year. And, you know, and our job is to enforce that state law, California state law. And we do that. We have about 800 people working in the DA's office. We work in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department and all the local police agencies, including the Anaheim Police Department and other state and federal agencies as well. And we handle all kinds of cases, everything from minor misdemeanor cases to major felony cases. And in a given year, it runs up to 65,000 cases, and total maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000 felony cases. So that just gives you some idea of the proportions. And you know, the variety of cases is just surprising. Really, a lot of different kinds of things that we see. And the way we handle, we have a lot of volume, and the way we handle all that volume is it's a team approach. It's kind of an assembly line team approach where different people handle different parts of the case. And as the case moves closer and closer to trial, we might wind up with might have a disposition on it. There'll be discussions with the defense attorney and with the judges and the various people involved and so forth. And usually before a case actually gets to trial, there's a disposition that once it gets to the point where somebody realizes, well, if you enter a guilty plea, you're going to get 3 years, and if you go to trial, you might get 3 years, but you might get 5 or 6 years, depending on what the judge thinks about it after a trial. So people usually wind up pleading guilty. About 90% of the cases are disposed of through dispositions like guilty pleas. And that's the big major bulk of the cases. But for cases where we need to spend more time on the individual case, we do what we call vertical prosecution. And the vertical prosecution is where we put the same team, an investigator and attorney, on the case at the very beginning, and that team handles that case all the way through. If possible, sometimes we have to make changes, but generally that team handles the case all the way through, from before the case is ever filed as a criminal case to the point where there's motions, hearings, trial, sentencing. Sometimes we can even send the same attorney to parole hearings that happen years later. In fact, I've been to parole hearings of cases that I tried years and years ago. So, and you know, actually turns out the parolee or the prisoner is usually pretty unhappy to see the same guy that tried the case arguing against his parole. But so that works out pretty good. So anyway, so that's kind of how we handle a lot of cases. So that, you know, I think we can be pretty proud of the results that our vertical units get. The group of attorneys and investigators who handle the homicide cases and the gang violence cases and that sort of thing has improved. Their conviction rate is over 90%. So our conviction rate on felonies that are filed is over 90%. So most people who are charged with felonies are convicted, you know, before it's over. So, excuse me. Just want to say that we spend a lot of resources. We make a lot of effort to work against gangs. We've been doing this for a long time. We work in conjunction with the police agencies, as a partnership with the police agencies, and we really have a four-pronged approach to working against gangs. One is the vertical unit, or the group of prosecutors and investigators who just try gang violent crimes. And they do a great job. I mean, they prosecute hundreds of gang members every year and have a great conviction rate. We also have what we call target teams. And the target teams are teams of attorneys, investigators, police investigators, probation officers, located in different parts of the county, in different police departments. And what they do, thank you, Jose, I appreciate that. What they do is gather intelligence or information about the gang activity in their area, and then they see the people who are the most active, the most dangerous gang members, and they target those people. And prosecute them if we can for whatever crimes they commit. But it makes it harder for them to operate in the area where there's a target taken. We also have injunctions, gang injunctions, and those are civil cases where it's like a case, it's a nuisance case where with our assistance, the police in the gang area will do a civil affidavit and describe in their affidavit the crimes that the gang has committed in the last couple of years, including the people, what the crimes were and how they affected the gang and so forth. And other people in the community will file affidavits as to how intimidated the gangs are, what terrible things they do in the community and so forth. And then we take that to civil court and get orders from the judge as to things that they can't do. We can't order them not to be a gang, but we can pretty much order them not to act like gangs. So they can't hang out after a given time in the park where they usually do. They can't wear gang clothes. They can't give gang signs. There's a lot of things that they're ordered not to do. And if they do any of those things that promote gang activity, they can be arrested for contempt of court. And when we make those arrests, it's pretty effective because we make an arrest of somebody and just contempt of court is just a misdemeanor, but oftentimes we'll find drugs and guns and things like that. So and evidence of other crimes. So it becomes pretty effective to have these gang injunctions. And I think we do a lot to prosecute gang members to try to suppress gangs. But also the other thing is that we work with the kids. We're working with a lot of kids from 4th to 8th grade in a program that we call the GRIP program. In fact, we started in Anaheim 10 years ago in 2 schools working with a lot of kids, and it was pretty successful. And so we've grown from those 2 schools to now 50 schools, and working with kids, with teachers, with private partners like tutors and taekwondo teachers and soccer camps and that sort of thing. And it's been a very positive experience, and I think we're helping to keep a lot of kids out of gangs. So we're working hard. We've got a lot of people working on this. And let me tell you that on the kind of the history of our crime experience here in the last several years in our state is that if you go back to the 70s, like the early 70s, we had a sentencing called indeterminate sentencing, and many of you here probably remember that. But with indeterminate sentencing, there was a wide range of sentences. If somebody was convicted and sent to prison, for example, for assault with a deadly weapon, the prison sentence for that crime was 6 months to 20 years. And so it was completely up to the Board of Prison Terms, or the parole board, to decide how long that person would stay in custody. And so it might be just a few months, or it might be several years, and it would depend on what the parole board thought about the dangerousness of the individual. So what happened then was that we had prison overcrowding, and I think I don't know, many of you might be able to recall it, but so that got to be a big issue. And as a matter of fact, Jerry Brown was governor at the time that prison overcrowding was going to be a major issue. And what they decided to do about it was to not reinvent, but reorganize the sentencing system. They changed the sentencing entirely from the indeterminate sentences to determinate sentences. And the determinate sentence would be a given number of years, low term, mid term, or high term, that somebody might get for a particular crime. So an assault with a deadly weapon again might be like, I think that it changed to 6 months, 18 months, or 3 years. And so, and then a person could work off whatever the sentence was. You could get credit for half of the time, good time, work time, get half off. And so what they did was they resentenced everybody based on what those people would have gotten had they been given the determinate sentence. And so thousands of people were released from prison. And they said that at the time, kind of what you've heard recently, they said that, well, they're going to have a provision. They're not just going to release people who are dangerous to the community. They're going to leave that up to the parole authorities to decide if they're too dangerous, they won't release them. But believe me, they release everybody. I mean, you know, lots and lots of people, some very, very dangerous people. We spent the next 15 years at least, and I think officers here will be able to vouch for this, but we spent the next 15 years putting those same people back in prison. Only now they have additional victims. Maybe they kill somebody, they break somebody, they rob people, and we're getting them back in prison. So that took a long time. So now, you know, fast forward to where we are now. Go back a few years at a time when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor. The prison overcrowding problem was there again, and there was a federal court order to reduce the prison population, and the state was struggling with it. And what Governor Schwarzenegger did was start moving people around, putting people in custody in different states and that sort of thing, paying for that. But nobody thought we could build new prisons. That was like off the table. So then when Governor Brown took over, he started working on what are we going to do to reduce this prison overcrowding problem. So they came up, not just him alone, but his administration came up with realignment, what we know as AB 109. And realignment was where they decided to do a couple of things. But the main thing was to push the responsibility from the state to the counties to house people so that they're not in prison. And if they're going to be going to county jail, they're going to get shorter terms. But that would help solve a problem. So they began with early release, and they released several thousand people, 15,000 people from prison. With the statement that, well, none of those people are dangerous. We have what we call an evidence-based tool that we look at to see if people are going to be dangerous in the future, and if they get less than a certain score, they're not dangerous, we can let them out. So they let a lot of people out based on these scores, on this evidence-based tool that was created by actually a psychiatrist at UCI. So. Not all of it, by the way, I mean, you know this, but not all those people were nonviolent. I mean, nonviolent really meant they're in their latest crime was a nonviolent crime. And but it doesn't mean that they didn't have plenty of violence in their background. And so when they release people, they release a lot of dangerous people. The other thing they did was, like I said, with realignment was to push cases down to the county. So one of the areas of a problem was that they realized that about 20% or 20 to 25% of the population in prison was people who were just there for a short time because they were getting out, they were violating their parole, and they would have to go back to prison for less than a year or less. And so this circular group, these people that are populating the prison, they decided, well, you know, we can reduce the prison population by simply not violating people's parole and sending them back to prison. So what they did with that was change the parole procedure to leaving it to the local DA and the local courts, as opposed to the state, to prosecute parole violations. And they changed the maximum from a year to 6 months, and then you get, with the credit for time served and everything. So we will now have the responsibility to prosecute parole violations, and then it revolves pretty fast, and those people are local, and they're here, they're from prison, they're violating their parole, and back out the street. So we've got that population as witness. And additionally, with a lot of crimes, they decided that, well, these crimes are felonies, but they're crimes that people can't be sent to prison for. They can only be sent to custody in the local county jail. And those are if they're non-violent crimes, it's not a violent sexual crime. If they don't fit certain categories, then there's strictly cases where you can prosecute, like for frauds and things like that, they can be prosecuted, they can be felonies, but their sentence has to be the local county jail. So we've got heavier weight felons in the local county jail now than we did before. And the idea was that the court could give the same